This time of year can be especially difficult for dogs because not only are we having weather changes, time changes, those evenings are getting darker, but there's also fireworks season approaching. Now, if you've got a dog who's been mildly scared of fireworks in the past, or perhaps a younger dog who hasn't experienced fireworks before, this exercise is going to show you how you can start off to build a real positive association to the sound of fireworks. For those of you who have dogs with extreme fear of fireworks, it's really important that you work one-to-one with a positive behaviourist to work through the challenges you're having with your dog. And you also need the support of your vet, just in case any medication is required. In this training scenario, we're using the yoga mat as a way for our dogs to tell us if they're ready to continue training or if they need a break. So to start with, we want to teach our dogs that the yoga mat itself is the place where all the fun happens. So when they get onto that mat, they get lots of food, they get our attention, and they get the chance to learn and train with us. But if they get off the mat, they can also earn some reward, but we just stop the engagement, the practical side of the training. It allows your dog to know that they have a choice during your training sessions, that if they want to engage and get started again, they step onto the mat. And if they need a little break or some time to process, or they're feeling uncomfortable, then they get off that mat. So to start with, to teach our dogs this, what we're going to do is we're just going to lure them onto the mat or wait for them to step on it. And when they do, we're going to click or mark them for getting onto the mat. We're going to reward them for doing so, and then we're going to wait them out. Leave them to say maybe get into a sit or a down position. This means that they're starting to think about offering us some behaviours which will help as we start to give them some more tasks later down the line. We also want to make sure that our dogs are learning that they can get off the mat at any time. So to do that, what we're going to do is just throw a treat off every now and then, so that there's one treat off the mat and then perhaps 3 treats back on the mat. One treat off, and then they get another 3 treats back on the mat. So they're learning that the mat is a really great place to be engaging with us, but there is always option to get rewarded even if they're off the mat. This allows us to take the stress out of training, and it means our dogs aren't having to be with us just to get the food. There is always food available in another area if they need to take that break. We've been working with Colin for a little while now, teaching him that the yoga mat is a great place to hang out. It's a place to engage with training, and he's enjoying getting onto the mat. He's also starting to offer a down every time he gets on there. So what we started to do with Colin is to have him on the mat. He's getting into his down, and we've been working on a chin rest. Now there's various different calm positions you can get your dog into when they get onto that yoga mat. One of them is to rest their chin on the floor. You could also teach them to lie flat on their side, or just to settle, which is just taking a little bit of their weight over to one hip or the other. If you want a bit more detail on any of those tricks, please head over to our Barket Club at barketplace.uk/B Club, and you'll get all of those videos to help you get started. So we're working on the chin rest, and any time that Colin is putting his chin down onto that yoga mat, we're giving him a nice reward. A tasty bit of cheese, because we really want some high value food here that's going to pair with the fireworks sounds shortly. Now that Colin's offering a bit of duration in the chin rest, so he's keeping his chin connected to the floor for a little bit longer each time, we're going to start to have our firework noises playing at a very low level. By getting him to train and use his brain in that task mode, it means he's switching off the emotional side of his brain a little bit. So by getting him to do a job, he's thinking about that job as opposed to thinking, oh gosh, that noise is a little bit scary. Which means the noise itself becomes a little bit of a peripheral noise as opposed to something that's really worth focusing on. So once Colin is in his down with his head rested on the floor in his chin rest position, we're going to start to play the audio track of the fireworks. This specific audio track has whistles and bangs. It has different noises of the different types of fireworks you might hear during fireworks season. So we're going to start it off on a really low level, like volume 1 or 2, so that it's barely audible, but Colin is still resting in that chin position. If at any point your dog gets off the mat, we want to stop that audio track of the fireworks immediately. We want the dogs to feel like they're in control, and if they need a break, or if it's gone a bit too loud for them, that they have a choice to stop everything. As your dog grows in confidence, we're going to start to increase the volume of that firework audio track. so that our dogs are starting to cope with just a little bit more like a real life sound. Because remember, on fireworks night, it's going to be pretty loud. So we want to slowly increase that volume as our dogs are starting to relax into their settle position, whether that be a chin rest or a lie flat. Each time they relax, we're going to put up the volume slightly and keep rewarding them. Remember, if your dog gets off the mat at any point, we stop. And then we turn the volume slightly back down when we start again. This has been a process over a few weeks with Colin, so don't just try and dive into one session with your dog and get to that full volume straight away. Make sure you take it slowly at your dog's pace and that you give them plenty of breaks. Sort of 5-minute training sessions are ideal for this one. When you get to the point where your dog can cope with the audio track at full volume during one of these training sessions, then we can start to play the track at other times of the day. So not when you're actually training, but at a low level, just as a background noise that your dog can start to ignore. And if it ever looks uncomfortable and you're seeing some body language signals where your dog is looking a little bit stressed, then just make sure that you turn off the track immediately. You may need to do a little bit more time on that positive association around the yoga mat and their settle position before playing it in a normal everyday life situation. In the run up to fireworks season, we want to try and get this exercise practice really frequently, but for very short periods each time we practice. So our dogs never get to a point where they're feeling super stressed. And then when you get to the point where you're able to do that real life sound, you're just playing the noise in the background of everyday life, then we can start to play that more regularly and perhaps pair it with something nice like a chew for your dogs to enjoy. When real fireworks start setting off, you're not going to want to do this exercise for the entire evening, so giving your dog something long-lasting to chew can be really, really valuable. It creates happy hormones in the brain and it can help to combat any stress that they may feel. Because real fireworks will be a lot louder and they also bring that illumination in the sky, so it will be slightly different. But if you work on this exercise in the run-up, your dogs will at least have started to feel a lot more comfortable about the noise generally of fireworks.